And good evening, Commanders, and welcome to episode 3 of the Elite Dangerous Law Tour. So I hope you're looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this one, right? I'm a big fan of the Empire, right? So this is my. I've been looking forward to this. This is going to be good because. Yeah, forget the Federation, right? Yeah, the Empire, my friends, the Empire. This is where it's at. This is where we get our comebackants on the federal scum, right? So I feel like a bit of jingoism first thing in the afternoon. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So. Yes, I was going to try and do some Imperial attire, but time has defeated me at last, Daddy Hoggy. So I'm going to I have to do my normal attire. I did think of trying to get a bow tie and some other bits and pieces, but time conspired against me. But I've got all the content. That's the main thing, right? I've got all the content. So yes, so here we are. It is basking time. We need to find out the origins of the glorious Empire of Achenar. So. Onwards we go. Right, so I am. Parked in now. I do apologise for misleading you a little bit, and I'm allowed to be mercurial, right? And muck about a tiny bit. So we are actually in Seoul. It's going to be the start point, because that's actually where the story of the Empire starts, right? So I'm actually in the Seoul system. So if you want to join me there, private group drewwagar, please make your way to Earth in the Seoul system. I'm currently docked at Lee Qing-yao. I think that's how you pronounce it. Space station. I looked up Lee Qing-yao in both the lore and in general terms to try and find out who they were, right? And in the Elite Dangerous lore, Lee Qing-yao is the inventor of hyperdrive, okay, which I hadn't realised. So that's a thing in the Elite Dangerous lore. And we're going to talk about hyperdrives and things a little bit later in the tour in a few weeks' time. But in real life, Lee Qing-yao was also a person, a lady who lived over 1,000 years ago in China, and was a poet. Now, I don't know if they're connected or whether they were inspired by each other in the lore, or whoever designed the original space station, because this space station did exist in the early games, Elite 2 and Elite 3. So we'll all be doing a little bit of a tour of that as well. So anyway, before I get going, welcome to everybody. Thank you very much for joining me on the stream tonight. Really always appreciate your company. I've just got back in from giving the NHS in the UK their Thursday evening round of applause, which decided to happen at the same time as my stream, hence the slight delay in starting, but I'm sure that's all good. So that's become a thing now, right? We're doing that every week, which is cool. I think it's good. So we stand out on our driveway, give them a round of applause, and see the neighbours once a week. Say hello and go back in again. So we give a clap every Thursday. We heard a few people with air horns, actually, so people are now getting a bit more ingenious with the noises that they can make, right? which is cool. So there we go. So that's what it's all about. Right, let's crack on with the show, shall we? So here I am. This is me. This is my I'm still flying my Cobra. And I did debate, shall I fly an Imperial ship for this? And I do have an Imperial ship. But I'm just a humble tour guide, right? I'm not, I'm not an Imperial in my persona in this game. My commander here at the moment is arguably not an Imperial, so just an innocent bystander, right? Just an innocent bystander. Anyway, Lee Qing-yao, I think that's how you pronounce it. Somebody will tell me I'm wrong. Pronunciations are difficult. Starbase in the Sol system is where we're going to start, right? So if I'm going to launch my ship, if you want to meet me outside the space station, that's where we'll start. Now I'm going to segue into some of the other stuff before we leave and depart, because the story starts here. But I want to give you a little bit of meta as well around the arrival of the Empire in the games and various other bits and pieces as well. So that's where we will start today. And it looks like someone's just been blown up. Hope that wasn't a commander. I hope that was an NPC. There's debris now all over the inside of the space station. This is all good stuff. Right. So onwards we go. Launch. Let's get this. A little bit of volume there so I can hear what I'm doing. Right. So let's get this ship up in the air. I can see a few people there, which is great. So let's make sure we keep green on the right as we go off. So anyway, this is where the story of the Empire starts. Actually, here at Earth, which is slightly ironic. Which Imperial ship do you have in the garage? I have on this account. I've only got an Imperial. What's the little one? Clipper. No. Yes. It is a Clipper, isn't it? The little one. I get confused now. So that's the one I've got. And on some of my other accounts, I've got Imperial Courier. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Clipper. Clipper's the middle one, isn't it? Courier. Yeah, the Imperial Courier, the little one. I've got that one on this account because I haven't done the rank grind on this account for the Empire, right? But I will have. I have gotten some on my other accounts as well, so there we go. So that's kind of good stuff. So and who's this in front of me here? So there we go. Commander Russian Man, 1996. Hello, good to see you. Thank you very much for turning up in my instance. That's really, really cool. Right. So quick segue though. Quick segue. Okay. Where does this whole Federation Empire thing happen in the meta, right? So let's just go back out. So I'm going to switch to my trusty DOS box for a moment while we assemble our ranks, right? Because and I've got my batch file sorted, right? I've got my batch file. It's all fixed. This is, for those of you who haven't seen this before, why not? Okay, where have you been in the last few weeks? This is Frontier. This is the second Elite game. There are 4 Elite games. Elite Dangerous is the 4th one. And the original Elite, not surprisingly, is the first one. This is the second one. This is Frontier Elite 2. This one was dropped in 1993. And it's the first time that David Braben kind of had sole control over the way the Elite universe was kind of operating. And so this is the first time we come across the Empire, right? And we've got a lovely Imperial ship in the background. We see the Imperial Courier as it was back in the day. And I'm just going to start, so it doesn't really matter where I start because I want to show you the system map. Okay, so this is the year 3200 we're in here. And we start not all that far away from where we are in Elite Dangerous, right? There's Seoul there, which is, as you can see, historic federal capital. That's where Federation is based. But if we go down, which doesn't really make sense in the galaxy, but you know what I mean, we end up in Imperial systems, okay? So, and there's Achenar, and if we look up Achenar, which is where we're going to be going in Elite Dangerous today, we can see it's the Imperial capital, seat of the Emperor. Okay, and we can look in there for a little bit more detail. Imperial capital is on Achenar 6D, which is correct, known as capital by the locals. 6C is still known as the conversion, though it was terraformed in 2696, which we haven't got to in the Elite timeline yet. Another one was terraformed in 2850 to accommodate the population explosion which followed. Anyone without the quirky accent of Imperial citizens is shunned, especially if they're from a Federation world. Okay, so yeah, we can see, you know, in this game, this is where the rivalry between the Empire and the Federation was put together. And there was a little bit of a timeline associated with this game, but it wasn't fully fleshed out at this point in time. There hadn't been that much lore injected into the game at this point. So it's quite lightweight in the second Elite game, but you can already see that those political rivalries are there. And what you'll notice here, and yet somebody asks, is the map 3D? It's sort of 3D, okay? So if I, and bear in mind this is 1993. This is quite impressive, really, is we can navigate the map still in sort of 3 dimensions, and I can rotate it round using my mouse. Kind of. There we go. It kind of works the other way around. The Elite Dangerous map, and then you can kind of target things like that, and then look around. You can, I think, you can zoom in and zoom out if I remember rightly. I can't remember how to do it though. Is it plus or minus? No, it's not that. So there is. I think there's a way of zooming in and out, but I don't recall what the keybinds are for it now, and you can't reset them. But anyway, you can do that, and you can see that we've got a UR here, which you can just about read. That's where we start off. Okay, so that's in the construction of the games. That is where the Empire first appears. But you didn't have. There wasn't much in the way of story or lore at this point. All you have in here is an ability to rank up. So if we look at your ship here, you can see we start off with an eagle with really ungainly undercarriage. But what you can see on this screen is that we have a federal rank, none, Imperial title, outsider, and our elite rating, as you might expect, right? We can earn medals and permits, and we have legal statuses which are different in the different areas. So you can actually be a fugitive in one part of space and okay in another one, which actually is slightly cleverer than what we have with Elite Dangerous in some way. In order to get your ranking, very much the same as Elite Dangerous. In the bulletin board, you would have missions, and some of them would be marked, and because we're in a federal area at the moment, you'd only get federal missions, right? So there we go. Federal military, we want you for Adventures Unlimited. You click on there, and because we're like a low rank, right? I love that comment. Leviathan AD, ungainly undercarriage. Finally, a ship I have something in common with. That's brilliant. We're a lowly rank at the moment, so all we do is we get some documents we've got to deliver, right? And we get paid a certain amount. But that gives us a little bit of rep, and so on and so on and so forth, right? And yeah, and these are the very early kind of photo fit images. They're a bit weird, and that's how the Empire was introduced into the game, right? So there were effectively two superpowers, and you could play them off against each other. Now, in these early games, though, some ways slightly better constructed from a kind of immersion perspective, because if you ranked up with the military in the Federation area, then the Empire would distrust you. Okay, so you couldn't rank up with both very easily. It was really, really hard to do. Okay, you could rank up with one easily, you could rank up with the other one easily, but you couldn't rank up with both easily because, kind of sensibly, really, if you were a high-ranking Federation officer, then the Imperial military were, reasonably suspicious of you, which kind of makes sense, right? So that's kind of where it came from. So this here is where it enters the gaming environment in this second game, Frontier Elite 2. So that just gives you a little bit of context for what's going on. Right, so that's enough of that. And let's switch back to. Close my DOS box down. I don't need that now. Let's go back to Elite Dangerous. There we go. So we are here in Seoul, and this is where the story of the Empire starts. Okay, this is where the story of the Empire starts. It actually starts with some people who are federal citizens, right? Okay, they are born and bred in the Federation, and they are good Federation citizens for the most part. Okay. But they're living in an era where federal control is extreme. So remember we got to the end of last week's episode where the Federation had extended its hold over multiple different star systems. And that, as the decades went on in the 23rd century, that control gets quite draconian. Okay, it gets quite draconian. It gets oppressive, right? It gets overbearing, lots of regulation, and you will live your life this way, and this is the right way to live your life. A lot of interference in what you can and what you can't do, and it became oppressive, okay, in the sense that there's a right way and a wrong way to live your life, and the federal way is the right way and nothing else counts. Okay, so that's the sort of environment that starts to come up, and some people are not getting happy with this. Okay, some people are not happy with this. And a lady enters the story at this point. Okay, a lady called Marlin Duval, and she is quite a historic and mysterious figure, right? Quite a historic and mysterious figure. She was wealthy. She had grown rich on the back of the society in the Federation, so she had money, she had influence. But she was getting very disaffected by the rigidity of Earth governments and this whole sort of social conformity thing, right? So you have to live this way and you have to do things that way and so on and so forth. And so she was wealthy enough to be able to fund her own expedition, and her aim was to get as far away from Earth as she possibly could. Okay? in the spacecraft of the day. We know they're primitive by Elite Dangerous standards. They are, they are short range. They take a long time to get anywhere. They're primitive. They haven't got the kind of weapons that we have. And she wanted to get as far away from Earth as possible, and she wanted to get way beyond the federal systems that were within sort of 10, 15 light years away of Earth. Now that meant effectively a massive journey across unexplored space, right? Unexplored space. Nothing, nobody knew what was out there. Okay, nobody had been that way before. Nobody had gone that far. They were trying to get as far away as possible, beyond easy range of any of the technology that existed at the time. Okay, so they really wanted to go a long, long way. And so she formed this expedition. She headed out into deep space, heading. Accounts vary a little bit here as to whether or not she was going specifically somewhere, or where she was, whether she was aiming for a particular destination. But the records show she was aiming just to get away from Earth. Okay, she was aiming to get away from the Federation. She wanted a different type of society, and she wanted something far less oppressive, believe it or not, okay, than what the Federation had become at that point in time. So she organised this expedition, right, and she headed off into what was then uncharted space. So we're gonna follow in her footsteps, okay? So I'm gonna plot a route to Achenar from Earth, which is a trip that she would have made. This is about 1,000 years ago in the Elite Dangerous timeline, right? So that's the trip we're going to make, and kind of go from there, in the footsteps of Marlin Duval of 1,000 years before. And right, so we can see a lot of people about, which is great. People down in Achenar. So we discussed last week why Achenar hasn't got its R in it, and we can blame Michael Brooks for that. Okay. It's entirely his fault. It's not actually. That's grossly unfair. But there we go. There's Achenar. So, and I've got the permit for this. Hopefully, you guys have got the permits as well. So it's 139 light years. In my ship, that's going to be well, it's not going to be too many jumps. How many jumps is that? It's going to be 4 jumps. It's a trivial distance today, right? But back then, this was uncharted space, right? This took a long, long time to get there. It took a long, long time to get there. So just before we go, a couple of questions there. So what would be the origin of Imperial slavery? We will get there. We will very much get there. Okay, where does this empire come from? Because Marlin Duval didn't want an empire, right? That wasn't her intention. She was an entrepreneur. She was an explorer. She was wanting to get away from the oppressive nature of the Federation. That's what her ambitions were. The empire is the story we'll get to, right, and slavery and so on and so forth. So we will get there, rest assured. But that's not where we are right now. As for the Alliance, yes, there is there's a Lore episode about the Alliance coming up. You may have noticed in the game that I just showed you, there was no sign of the Alliance at all. The Alliance is actually a very relatively recent thing in the Elite Dangerous lore. Only happened in the last sort of 100 years. So, and we will get to the Alliance in due course. Where are we meeting in Achenar? We will meet at the main star base there. So over Capitol, which is the main planet. So let me just show you that in the system map. We are going to be heading to there's Achenar. We are going to be heading here to Dawes Hub. Capitol is the main cornerstone of the Empire, which is where the Emperor lives, or at least where the Emperor has a residence. And as also because we know the Emperor, as she likes to be called, and there's reasons for that there as well. Emperor Arissa. I mean, you normally expect her to be Empress, right? But she isn't. She is Emperor Arissa. And there's good reasons for that, which we will find out. We are going to actually meet in orbit here at Dawes Hub. That's going to be our target for the moment. Are we landing on Achenar 3? No, we are not landing on Achenar 3. I know all about Achenar 3. For those of you who don't know about Achenar 3, you may want to check the system map detail on Achenar 3 very carefully before you approach the planet. So yeah, no, don't go to Achenar 3. Oh, is it 4? Oh, it's one of those, isn't it? Yeah, one of those planets. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. But be careful, all right? Be careful. Don't fly without rebuy if you're going to those, whichever one it is, because yeah. It's Achenar 4, is it? There's some quite peculiar stuff going on down there. So, Dawes Hub is where we'll be going. Okay, Dawes Hub. So there we go. So that's the target. Now, some people have already told it. So Marlene Duval is the lady we're going to follow, okay? And she goes to Achenar, and she ends up in Achenar after a prolonged journey, right? Takes her quite a long time to get there. With colonization capability, she arrives in the Achenar system. So we'll travel to Achenar now. Can I accept me to a private group? Yes, I can. Somewhere, hang on, let me drop into... I've got DDEX there and groups. There we are. There you go, sir. Should be in now. We're going to aim for Achenar and travel there. So, for all the crew who are in the same instance as me, welcome. I can see a few Imperial vessels, which is excellent. Just going to flash my lights. There we go. Look at that. We have Imperial ships and a few other bits and pieces. I can see a Cobra Mark III, which is always excellent. Right. So off we go. I'm going to just be careful I don't scratch anybody's paintwork. And off we go. Oop, I think I conked somebody. Sorry about that. Let's put my landing gear up as well. Right, Zeta Reticuli is my first destination. You may not be having the same jump depending on your jump range. And a few people are off as well. There we go, look at that. Ships everywhere. Right, hyperspace ho. No, not yet. Mass lock. Let's have a bit of speed on there. Where's my volume for that? There we go. Awesome stuff. Right, so we're on our way. So I'm expecting the player defs on the EDSM to jump half today. 3 jumps for me. We should wrap on Achenar 4. We could try that maybe at the end, right? We could. Yeah, let's do that, Winnie. That might be fun. Who can land successfully? A-rated thrusters for the win, I think, on that one, right? Okay, so bear that in mind. Right, so Marlene Duval aims, right, to get away from the feds, get away from federal influence, get away from the, the over-legislative kind of regulatory environment that is what the Federation has become, okay? So she wants to get away from all that. She wants to start a new civilization. She wants to do something different, and she wants to get away. Now, the way I read the law for this lady is that she doesn't do this kind of officially. Okay, she heads off with the notion, or the official notion, that she's going to found a colony, and that colony will become part of the Federation. Okay, but it seems that she was being a little bit duplicitous, okay? Wasn't entirely straightforward, as we British would say. In fact, she was lying, right? She was not really actually telling the truth. She had no intention of becoming part of the Federation. She was trying to get away from it. But the environment being what it was, she couldn't tell the truth, right? Because they would have stopped her. So she went. And the Federation, has no choice but to let her go. And so she travels across space for what is probably years, okay, for the for the technology of the time. Takes ships a long time to get there. This is primitive tech by standards of Elite Dangerous. Takes her a very long time to get there. Probably all sorts of tragic stories and adventures along the way, right? Liar, her pants are on fire. That's exactly right. It is Achenar 3. Okay, so we'll bear that in mind. Well, maybe we'll end up there and see what we can do. That could be fun. She's trekking across space. To get to her destination, and we will shortly be there. At least I will shortly be there. And it's a little bit of a trek in, actually. The Achenar solar system is much bigger than Sol. Okay, and one of the reasons for that is the Achenar star is a white star, much hotter. I can't remember exactly what spectral class it is. We'll find out when we get there. Commander JR 1988. That's a really good question. We don't actually know. The lore in Elite Dangerous is a bit vague at this point because humanity has discovered hyperdrive tech, right? But we're still, for reasons that aren't entirely clear, we're still building generation ships in this era as well. So some people have access to hyperdrive tech, some people don't. It's not clear whether that's a technological limitation or whether that is a cost limitation or exactly what it is. But hyperspace is available right now, but it is it's not widely used. It's not widely used, and the law isn't clear on exactly why. How the ships got to Achenar, it's not clear whether they were generation ships or whether or not they were some sort of FTL kind of hyperspace capable ship, but it took an awfully long time to recharge between jumps, or the jump ranges were very low. It's not sure. All we know is it took a considerable amount of time to get that far out. And we're talking about 140 light years away from Sol, a distance today which is trivial for us to travel in Elite Dangerous, but back then was a massive undertaking. So whatever the technology was in use, it didn't allow you to travel 130 light years very quickly. It took months and months to get out there. And at this point in humanity's history, there is nothing out there as far as they know. They were travelling into the unknown, past the edge of known explored space, right? So this is Achenar. This is a blue class. Someone's put it in the chat. That's fantastic. Blue class B star. Very different from the sun. Very hot. Much more intense. And like I said, we're going to go to Dawes Hub here. Which is in orbit around Achenar 6. Now, Achenar 6 is a gas giant, right? There's Capital, and there's Dawes Hub. That's where we're going to go. Going to lock that, and then Super Cruise assisted, because then I can talk, which is always good. I noticed that Dawes Hub is 20,000 light seconds out, right? Okay, so that's quite a long way out. Compared to Earth's solar system, it takes us a little while to get there, right? So the solar system here is enormous, but compared to the one that we're used to in Sol, it's a much bigger solar system. Definitely Dawes Hub. That's where we're heading. Yep, Dawes Hub is where we're going to kind of rendezvous for the next part of the story. It's not as bad as Southern Orbital. No, it's not that bad. And so this is a very different solar system to the one that is around, planetary system, should I say, star system, rather than the solar system that we know. It's a long way out. The primary planet here is actually technically a moon. Okay, it's whilst it's an Earth-like world, it's not in orbit around the star per se. It's in orbit around a gas giant. So it's rather like the Endor moon in Return of the Jedi and Star Wars, or it's like the Pandora moon in what's that film, Avatar, right? It's that sort of arrangement. You've got a gas giant, which is the primary body in the sky, which must make for some quite cool effects for people living on the surface. But basically, Marlene Duval eventually arrives in Achenar, right? She gets here. And they survey this system, and they discover there's an Earth-like world. Okay, so Earth-like worlds are relatively common. They're not super unusual, but they've come a long way. They're 100 light years away from the Federation at this point, and they discover this Earth-like world as a moon, right? Yeah, quite unusual, in orbit around this gas giant. And it doesn't need to be terraformed. Nothing. We can live there, right? So they stop Marlene Duval and her crew of explorers, go into orbit around this planet, and they settle on it. Now, there's some interesting things about this planet, okay, at this point in time. The first one is that there is a sentient life form on it. Okay. Now, humanity has seen, advanced life already in places like Tau Ceti, so they know life is relatively common in the universe, and particularly life that is less advanced, stuff that can float around in the atmospheres of planets and things like that is pretty common, right? But sentient life is not, and this is a rarity in the world of Elite Dangerous. You just don't find sentient life that often. To have it here was something that they weren't expecting, but they didn't realise at the time how rare and precious that was. They were, it later became a thing in the Elite Dangerous universe that sentient life was very, very rare. Now, the initial colonists of the Achenar system didn't know this sentient life was there initially, until they were on the surface of the planet, it was unknown to them that the sentient life was shy. It kept out of the way. It kind of watched the humans from a distance, and it wasn't for quite a long time before it was noticed that there was sentient life actually on the surface of this moon. And so that was something that was happening around at the same time as the colonization event. So this is all happening at a time when things are going downhill for the Federation in other ways. Okay. So let me just give you a flavour of what was happening there. I'm just scrolling up through my notes. The Federation's had to put down this sort of semi-rebellion with Tau Ceti, Beta Hydri, and Altair and all that lot that we talked about last week. So they're sort of reeling a little bit from that, right? The settlement was reached. The Federal Accord was announced, and then the Federation was formed. Okay, but it was struggling to assert itself. Okay. And the games that were being played by all the different components, right, were unsettling the scenario. It was unstable. There were problems still on the Earth. We talked about the impacts of World War III. That was still rumbling away. The Earth's climate wasn't stable. There were still radiation problems on Earth. And we had Mars, which had recently been successfully terraformed using some new amazing capability. And Mars was going great guns, right? Mars was getting more and more lush, more and more verdant, a really nice place, right? It became more and more popular, and it was outshining the Earth, right? Mars was the place to be. Mars was the place to live. And so all the rich people and all the influential people were leaving Earth to go to Mars, right? Because Mars was new and shiny and nice, and Earth was kind of messy and yucky and troublesome. And around about this time is when the Federal Congress itself, okay, moved to Mars, off the Earth. So the core, the seat of power, if you like, in the Federation, moved to Mars. So for the first time in the entirety of humanity's history, Earth is no longer the power broker in the solar system. It's Mars. Mars has Mars has the control of the Federation, right? And it's still the same way today in Elite Dangerous. Mars is actually where the federal power resides, and that is it was partly done to kind of remove Earth's kind of historical, the kind of weight of history from all that sort of stuff. Mars's preeminence in the solar system growing. So Olympus Village, which is a city that you could visit in Elite 2 and Elite 3, became the there we go, disengage. Became the the place where all the power was centered, right? And so that actually made things a tiny little bit easier. There we go. We're in Doors Hub. So here we are, high above Achenar 6D. So let's get in there. You'll notice the Imperial accent. We'll get to the Imperial accent in a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to throttle down there, and then we can hopefully look down on the planet itself. There we go. Look at that. There is the planet itself. And this is a moon, actually. I mustn't call it a planet because it isn't a planet in the strictest sense, although it's the right size to be a planet. Okay, but it's actually in orbit around the gas giant Achenar 6, which, if I just show you how this is the size of this system, right? Let me just target, because I can't even see it visually. There's where we are down there. Doors Hub. This is Capitol. This is the Earth-like world. Here's the Achenar 6 gas giant, right? Which is I've just selected it, which is over there. Okay, look how far out it is. Okay, it's 160 light seconds. We're massively far away from it, which is actually probably quite a good thing from a kind of gravitational tides perspective. But it means, oh, huge ship there. You know, I don't know what the orbital period for this moon is, but it's a long way out from the main gas giant. It's, you know, this is a very, very big system, and you know, it's on a different scale to the solar system. So it's fascinating just to have a look at that, really, from a perspective. I've got a huge ship in front. What are you doing, Mr. Winnie? What are you doing? Clonk, he's just changing me around. All power to shields. There we go. Oh yeah, let's have a look at the orrery. That's a really good suggestion. Let's have a look at the orrery. This is the scale of the solar system. So we are here around this gas giant here. We can see here the main Achenar system, right, with the central planets, where Earth would be in this system, but we're not there because this area, because of the Achenar star being so powerful, this B-class star, is way too hot to exist here. The habitable zone of this star is much further out, right? 20,000 light seconds. Somebody will tell me what that is in astronomical units, who can quickly do the calculation, right? I don't know how far is 20,000 light seconds in astronomical units. Somebody will be able to tell me. It's a fair way, right? And then if we zoom in on this, we can see the scale of just the moons in this system. Okay, and this is where we are. So we're on the moon, going around a gas giant, which is then going around around that sort of space. So it's so we're about 6 AUs out. Okay, so that's further. This gas giant is further away from the star than Jupiter is, right? And what that means is this is the Goldilocks zone for this star is 6 times further away from the star than it is in our solar system, assuming that's right. So that's great. Thank you very much, Army Squirrel, for that. Which is just a little bit of astronomy for you, anyway. So the habitable zone is a long way out of the star for an Earth-like world, which is interesting. What are you doing, Commander Winnie? Anyway, so Marlin arrives here, right? And she colonizes Achenar 6D, and she sets up a colony. She sets up a colony down there on this lovely, beautiful, verdant moon that's orbiting this gas giant. So, fantastic for astronomy because the night sky is different here. We've got gas giants in the sky. We've got this incredibly bright star which we're orbiting. So, a very different world to Earth, but attractive in its own right. And she sets up a colony. Okay, and she sets up, Marlin Duval sets up the colony here in Achenar under democratic rule. Okay, democratic rule. She constructs a society which is based on democratic representation. She creates a society where senators are elected, which represent tranches of the people, and there's effectively a senate which controls the fledgling colony, and it's democratic. It's all voted for. Okay, it's entirely democratic. Very different to the way the Federation is now, very top heavy with legislation and regulation. This is democracy. This is the will of the people. Okay. So I'm getting different numbers here. Okay, so 40 AU. So okay, it's massively different, but it's big, right? Okay, so it's a huge solar system, whatever the numbers are. So that's the thing. But she sets it up democratically. Okay, the origin of the empire is democratic, which may surprise you. Okay, and she sets up this colony now. Other people are other colonies are also going out there and establishing colonies as well. Over the next sort of 40, 50 years, other people are doing what Marlin's doing. Okay, they're going out, kind of slightly unregulated, heading out into space, setting up colonies beyond the Federation, this begins to be a little bit problematic for the Federation, because they suddenly think, hang on, these colonies are not reporting back in. They've gone off saying, yes, of course we'll sign up to the Federal Charter and the Federal Accord, and then they don't. They sort of keep saying, oh yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll send it in the post. It's in the post. When you haven't received it, okay? So they are. They're delaying. They're kind of pretending they've lost something. The envelope. Well, send us another one. We didn't get the last one. All that sort of stuff, right? So all that sort of stuff is happening. It's giving me a nudge on the screen. And so there's games being played. Okay, and the Federation starts getting a little bit nervous about this sort of stuff. Okay, gets a little bit nervous. But then, let me just, again, I've got to get, there's quite a lot of notes about this sort of stuff, okay? It is, at about this point, something fundamental happens in the history of what becomes the Empire. Is Marlin Duval, with the senatorial thing, she's not in charge overall, but she's very influential. This is an idealistic democratic society. When suddenly she dies, okay, she dies, and according to the official Imperial records, she died in some sort of flying crash. Okay. Her speeder, or flying machine, whatever she was actually travelling in, mysteriously crashed, and she was sadly killed in the crash. Somebody kill Winnie. Out of the way, Winnie. So she dies. Okay, tragically, apparently, right? So. There's all sorts of ships in close proximity here now, mucking about. So she dies in this tragic crash. So it's said. She has a brother who's come along with her on this colonization trip, who up until this point hasn't been anybody particularly of note. He's just been following along in his sister's shadow, really, and his name is Henson Duval. And the moment that Marlin is out of the way, and presumably after a period of mourning and all that kind of good stuff, suddenly Henson Duval takes control of the Senate in effectively a coup, right? In effectively a coup, and he disbands utterly the democratic rule. Okay, he abolishes it, and quite how he goes about it, it's not entirely clear. We assume a lot of violence ensued, right? So he had backing of somebody, a military junta or something along those lines. and he takes control. And almost overnight, the democratic rule of that Marlin Duval wanted for this colony becomes strict imperial rule based on the Duval family. And that line, the Duval line, stretches all the way forward through history to the time of Elite Dangerous today. The Duvals are the family line of the empire, unbroken all the way back to Henson Duval. And there is in this system, there is, if you look it up, you can go and visit this in your own good time, there's the origins of the empire, you can read it there as well. But there is I think it's one of the, where is it? Unrighteous Common Beacon. There's a list somewhere of all the actual, I don't know if it's, there we go, the line of the Duvals. You can go and visit that, okay, and it will give you the list of the emperors who kind of followed in. But Henson was the first one, okay. Now the obvious accusation is that Henson had his sister killed, right? That's the accusation, but no one was ever able to prove that. No one has ever proved it, and nowadays nobody would dare try, right? Because 1,000 years of history has gone by, and this is what the empire has become. But the origins of the empire are a democratic lady wants to go out there, tragically loses her life under what appear to be slightly suspicious circumstances, and then boom, her vision for what this colony was to be is gone, and her brother takes it over and sets the tone for the empire. And so at this point also he basically sends back to Earth sorry, we are not going to be part of the Federation. We are not going to adopt your rules. We're not going to adopt your charter, and we're not going to adhere to any of your rules and regulations or anything. We're not going to even trade with you. We are our own civilization. We are nothing to do with you. This is the empire, and we have established our own rules, our own way of doing things, and sod you, basically. And this is transmitted to the Federation by the people who are now in control of what is the empire. They do all sorts of strange things during the colonization of this area. They basically suppress female children. Now, Henson Duval must have had a bit of a screw loose, right? Because he genetically manipulates his family line, so that only male heirs can be born. There can be no female offspring in the Duval family line. Okay, so he limits that, some sort of weird genetic engineering, and he hates. It says in the law he hates Marlin Duval's principles and visions of a world in peace. He wants a military power. He wants this imperial majesty to be and that imperial male line follows down all the generations ever since. So he was a bit of a character, right? He was a strange guy. He forces his family into this genetic manipulation to preserve purity in the imperial lines. Whereas Marlin had on the surface, they were colonizing this effectively. What happens at this point is that Henson just lets the colonists go rampant again across the surface of the capital planet that we can see here. They expand as humanity has always expanded, somewhat out of control, and they either accidentally or on purpose extinguish the sentient life that lives on this world. So again, humanity is in that kind of xenophobic genocide scenario, and the early imperialist people wipe out the population the indigenous sentient beings, in this case sentient. They were creatures that were thinking and had an evolutionary path ahead of them that might have led to spaceflight potentially, wiped out, okay, destroyed again by humanity. And the Federation takes not surprise once they get to hear about this, and this is this is about 2320 we're getting to now. The Federation is not impressed by this, okay, not impressed at all. They demand that the Federation, that Achenar either cedes control to the Federation, they make that ultimatum again, right? You will comply. You will become part of the Federation. You'll desist in this behaviour, or face the consequences. Okay. A fantastic message there. Gaylord Kraken. Greetings, Senator. On behalf of Her Majesty, we'd like to welcome you back to Achenar. That's awesome. And so this is what we are left with, right? So in the lore about this time, there is outrage in the Federation in the early 24th century. We've got to now 2310, 2320. Okay, there is outrage in the Empire as to what's happened. In the Federation as to what's happened. But Achenar refuses to comply. We are the Empire. We have set ourselves up, and we will not comply with the Federation. We will not comply. And so the Federation, in the early 24th century, sends a war fleet. Okay, another war fleet. Okay, and tries to impose its will on these upstart imperialists. Okay, and so a war fleet is sent, composed of now the bolstered forces of the Federation. So this is Tau Ceti, Altair, Beta Hydri, all of those systems, and Sol, and the massive might of Mars, and all those sort of things. So the most powerful force ever assembled in human history in the early 24th century sets out across space to arrive in the Achenar system to sort them out. Okay, it's a war fleet again. And they use the Empire is extinguishing sentient life forms. This is why we're going to war. We're going to liberate the dead sentient life forms. We're going to stop them from doing that again, right? And so they attempt to go and subdue the Empire. And the Empire, again, knows they're coming, right? They know they're coming because it takes a long time for ships to get there. So this war fleet is on its way, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to get there. I'm drifting forwards, am I? Sorry, I've got my throttle on very slightly. Sorry about that. Let me just back that off. There we go. Ooh, too much. There we go. I'll stop. Fantastic. So the war fleet's on its way, but Achenar knows this is coming again, right? Because of the delay in the amount of time that you have. And so this fleet arrives, okay, on the outskirts of the Achenar system. This federal war fleet arrives on the outskirts of the Achenar system, but Achenar is big, right? Achenar is a big system, as we've already talked about it. Now the Empire is outgunned. The Empire is outclassed. The federal technology is more sophisticated. It's bigger. It's stronger. It's better. It's faster. Right. The only advantage that the Empire has at this stage is that they have the home field advantage. Okay, they have the home field advantage. They know the system, and they know their way around, and so they basically employ guerrilla tactics on the incoming federal war fleet. They attack and feint, and they run away. They attack, feint, and run away. And they keep winning small victories against this federal war fleet as it's trying to establish a kind of beachhead in the Achenar system. And the problem that the Federation has is that they are a long way out of their jurisdiction, right? They're 130 light years away from home, and they haven't got... And what they struggle to do is establish and maintain a supply line. And so what happens is they keep running out of munitions and they keep running out of supplies. And the Empire ships simply continue to attack the supply chain rather than the army. They will not engage with the main war fleet. So they play a sort of guerrilla tactics against the Federal fleet. And the Federal fleet can't bring its power to bear because it can't attack these targets. So that's the strategy that the Empire plays. Okay, they use this sort of pack hunting formation against the Federation. They're smart. So for an entire year, the Federation ships try to establish a base, establish a presence in the Achenar system, and they're not able to do it. They can't get into the inner solar system because it's well defended. They can't make a beachhead in the outer solar system because there are no habitable planets to use, and the inner planets are also hospitable as well. And after a year of this, the Empire decides, or Henson, as the Emperor himself now, decides that the Federation are weak enough. The actual Federal fleet is weak enough for the Empire to actually take them head on. Henson organises every fighting ship in the Empire that exists. It's just the one system right now, but every fighting ship that can be mobilised, Henson gets them all together into a grand armada, and they basically go hell for leather. They fly out to the edge of the solar system where the Federation is trying to establish its beachhold. The supply lines are weakened. The Federation ships don't expect to see this amazing offensive. The Empire ships fall upon them, and there's a massive space battle, and the Empire wins. The Empire wins. The Federal fleet is ripped to shreds under this attack. Demoralized, they flee, and a few of them make it back home to Earth, having, effectively, as military people say, having their chronometers cleaned, I think is the is the phrase from kind of military history. So they are defeated. The Federation is defeated for the first time in its military history by an upstart single colony far out deep in space. By superior tactics and clever planning by the Empire, the Federation is defeated. The Federation fleet is effectively destroyed, and the remnants of the survivors head back home. And that's known in the lore as the Great Battle of Liberation, which is a nice grandiose title for it, for the Empire. So the Empire is victorious, right? The Empire under Henson Duval, the first emperor, he has now established his colony. He's established imperial rule, and he's defeated the mightiest power that humanity has ever thrown into space. He's defeated the Federation. Okay, his power knows no limits. Okay, so that's the story of the beginning of the Empire. A man who maybe, and we don't know for sure, maybe he just seized the opportunity after his sister died, or maybe he did away with his sister, or saw an opportunity, right? Who knows, right? This is 1,000 years ago. Who knows what the real story was? Now, with my kind of writer's head on, I wonder maybe there's the obvious story that Henson did away with his sister, or maybe Marlin wasn't this wonderful character that she's been painted to be by the Federation, because history is written by the winners, right? So maybe she wasn't who she's reported to be in the lore, or maybe she is, and Henson did do this whole thing. All we know for certain is that a genetic line of emperors was put together, and genetic manipulation and those kind of things form the heart of what imperial culture is like. Okay, and this happens at the early part now of the 24th century, and Achenar has won. Okay. Now, with this power, Henson goes on a sort of, right, we are now going to expand the empire dramatically. And if you look on the system map, crucial imperial worlds are very, very quickly settled. Okay, so Achenar the empire manages to get hold of the same sort of technologies that the Federation has, and important systems that you'll notice around here. Where's the crucial one? Nihet is one. I don't know how you pronounce this. Where's it gone? Oh, it just disappeared. There we are. Fakichi, perhaps. I haven't got that system permit for that one. But these are all, and Vaquest, these are all key imperial worlds which are quickly settled. And within a few decades, the reach of the empire is beginning to rival the Federation. Okay, so the Federation is still expanding, still subsuming worlds, but the empire within a few short decades is doing exactly the same thing. So now you have these two power blocks, these superpowers developing in the Elite Dangerous universe, and the stage is set for confrontation, right? Because they have been on a war footing. No treaty is agreed between them. The empire basically doesn't, has destroyed the federal war fleet, and the Federation has retreated. But the empire isn't in a position to go and attack the Federation. They're not that strong, right? They know that would be overreaching themselves, so they don't attack the Federation. But they are now in total enmity with each other. Okay, so at this point in history, effectively there is a war between the Federation and the Empire. There is no treaty. They are on a war footing at all times. If an Imperial ship comes across a Federal ship, it's fight. Okay, so you just kill each other, and they're on a war footing for a very long time. Okay, for many decades. It takes another 50 years of fighting before treaty negotiations bring a unstable peace between the Federation and the Empire. And all the way through that, the Federation is trying to undermine the Empire and trying to make it collapse until they eventually concede defeat and acknowledge that they are not now the only superpower, humanity superpower in the universe, that the Empire is there, the Empire is going to be there, and so on and so forth. And the two cultures diverge dramatically from this point onwards, because the Empire is an imperial organization. There is an emperor who decrees how things are to go, and that makes it a very, very different environment to the Federation. So whereas the Federation kind of continues with the same sort of morals and ethics that we would recognize, with corporations doing their thing, with regulation and legislation, in the Empire it's decree. Okay, the Emperor says, he passes that judgment down to his senators. The senators pass it down to their patrons, and the patrons pass it down to their citizens. And that is the structure of the Empire, which makes for a very different civilization to anything that exists today on the Earth. Right? It is very, very, very very, very different indeed. So that is the early history of the Empire. Now, ultimately, the Federation and the Empire do come to a treaty. Okay. But it's an unstable one, and that one takes a long time for the Emperor, these two things to come to peace. And there's basically a lot of war going on between these kind of systems. And even today in Elite Dangerous, right? People who are from the Empire will shun the Federation, and people from the Federation will shun the Empire. As a little bit of an aside here from the kind of meta of all this, is when I was initially putting the first Elite Dangerous book together, Elite Reclamation, about this. Now I wanted to write about the Empire because when I read the lore about it, I thought they sound much cooler than the Federation, right? So that was something that I wanted to have a look at. We've got these people who are very, very different, okay, from the Federation, and that they do things in a totally different way. And I basically said to really, really early on, this was as the Kickstarter was happening, I wanted to say to David Braben and Michael Brooks, what's the Empire really like? What does it feel like to be part of it? And that's where some of the structure came out. So right at the top, you've got the Emperor himself, genetically engineered family line, which preserves their kind of genetic heritage all the way back to Henson Duval. And you've got then a very, very structured society. So what happens in the Empire compared to the Federation is that appearance and conduct and behavior and manners become incredibly, incredibly important, okay, to Imperial citizens. And everything about the Empire becomes about who you're trying to impress, okay? And that's where we get, as you can see from my screen in front of me, very, very, very close ship. All the Imperial designs, let's just turn around again. And let's, I'm just going to slowly and carefully here, have a look at the space station, okay? So the early space station designs, everything about the Empire and everything about their aesthetic and everything about their design, everything about the clothes that they wear, the way they conduct themselves, all of that stuff, right, is incredibly important. You are supposed to show off, okay? It is required of you if you're an Imperial citizen. You are a product of your you are what you're seen to be in the Empire. You are not you are trying to be ostentatious, you're trying to impress, but you mustn't do it in a overtly kind of look at me sort of way. You've just got to be stylish, right, in the way that you do things. So you want the sort of people the society ends up with as a sort of, you're gorgeous and you're attractive and you're beautiful and everything about you is wonderful, but you mustn't promote that yourself. You have to wait until somebody else compliments you and then you go, well, oh, that's awfully kind of you to say. It's that sort of pompous, arrogant, sort of stylish without making an effort kind of thing. But underneath it all is the knowledge that if you get it wrong, if you make a social faux pas, then your fall from grace will be astonishingly quick. So Imperial society becomes very, very strated in that, if you know the right people, you can advance very, very rapidly. If you don't have the right influence and you're not seen to be in the right circles, you're not seen to be doing the right things, and you don't have the right style and class and sophistication, and you're not seen in the right ship at the right time of year, all that sort of stuff, right? Then Imperial society will shun you. So it's a very stratified, very cold and calculating, but very flamboyant environment. It's very unlike the sort of structures we have now. There is no kind of social fail-safe in the same way that there is in the Federation. So in the Federation, if you fall upon hard times, there's a kind of social services construct to pick you up and give you some money. In the Empire, that doesn't happen. And that's where slavery comes from in the Empire. Now, a few people have asked about slavery in the Empire, and it's an unusual thing. It's certainly in the Western world today, we tend to we take a very dim view of slavery, and quite rightly too, right? Because the history of slavery in our culture in the 21st century, and in back into time is horrific, right? But in Imperial circles, in this science fiction world, slavery isn't necessarily quite what you think it is. So Imperial slaves are extremely well treated. Okay, they have their accommodation, they have their food, they have their clothing, and they are very well looked after. Okay, they are very well looked after, and it's a very important point to make. It is indentured servitude. Okay, so if you fall in hard times on the Empire, there's no system there to give you money to tide you over. Okay, if you fall into debt, you're in debt. You owe somebody some money, and that debt is an honourable thing that must be repaid by you. It has to be repaid by you. It is your debt, nobody else's debt. It's your responsibility, and your imperial honour must be satisfied. Okay, you must repay that debt. And so what happens in imperial society is that you go into slavery voluntarily to pay off your debt. Okay, and that's where the lower tiers of imperial society end up. If you fall from grace, you overextend yourself, or you run into financial problems in the empire, there's no social services, you become a slave. Okay, you fall into a position where somebody takes you on altruistically in the imperial mode of thinking, right? Altruistically, they're actually looking out for you. They take you on as a slave to say, you will work for me for a certain period of time until you have paid off your debt. That's what an imperial slave is. That's the structure of the imperial society. So it's not slavery in the sense that we understand it necessarily, okay, in the sort of 21st, 20th century context, looking back on our own history. Imperial slavery in imperial society is an honourable position to be in. It means that you are taking your debt seriously. You are doing the honourable thing in attempting to repay your debt to society. You've made a mistake, perhaps, or you've fallen upon hard times, or things have gone wrong. And that is the way that imperial society works. And it is quite like the Egyptian Empire, and it's quite like the early Roman Republic. All right, they did have indentured slavery in that sort of time. Now, with our Western world sort of view of this, it's quite an unusual system, today. But the Imperials would argue it's fairer and better and more honourable for members of society than what you have in the Federation, which is that kind of rather like we do in the Western world. There we have a class of people who don't work, who are on effectively social handouts from society, which does have a tendency then to breed a dependent part of society that never actually ultimately gets a job and only ever receives from society. That's where the Federation stays, with that construct that if you're rich, you're rich, and if you're poor, you're poor, and if you're really poor, then you get a handout from the state. That's what's still operating in the Federation at this point in time, and still in the today of Elite Dangerous. Whereas in the Empire, that never happens. There is no social handout. Society itself takes you under its wing. Individuals will say, you will become a slave and you will work for me for 2 years in order to pay off your debt. And that's the way the Empire is structured. It's a very, very different system. Now, senators and that's right, it's a patronage society. It's exactly right, Bad Marker. The patrons are obliged to look after their citizens and their slaves, and senators are obliged to ensure their patrons are doing the right thing, and the emperor ultimately is overseeing the senators, and that's the way that society is structured in the Empire. A client system. That's exactly right. That's a client system. So it's a different society. Is it right or wrong? Is it better or worse? It's different. It's not something we see very often on the earth today, but it has been around in historical times. And when I asked David Braben and Michael Brooks, what is the Empire really like? They basically said it's the Roman Republic prior to the Roman Empire. It's kind of based on the way the Roman Republic worked, but with the kind of pompous arrogantness of the British Empire, okay? which certainly appealed to me. Huzzah, right? Okay. The British Empire has got very little to be proud of in some places, right? But that sort of pompous kind of appearances, decorum, Victorian Edwardian style to the way the British were, 150 years ago. That's a feel that the empire has today, but with the structure of the Roman Republic, and it is an honor. And this is a little bit like Star Wars kind of Klingon-y stuff, right? Honor is everything in the empire. Okay, if you're not seen to be treating your slaves effectively, you will lose honor. Okay, and then that will rob you of your position in the empire. So all of those things matter hugely. So appearance, prestige, honor, being seen to do the right thing, looking after everybody, incredibly, incredibly important to the to the empire. And you'll notice that they've put this flavour into the game, which is quite clear. When I request docking clearance from this space station, am I close enough to do that? Let's just lock onto the space station itself. Achenar 6. That's all out of order. Where are we? There we are. Doors hub. When I request docking, listen to the way that the docking commander responds to me, right? So I'm just going to request dock and go in and come back out again, but it's quite cool.
Your docking request has been approved. Please proceed to bay 06.
So you get this. Your docking request has been approved, you're my good man. It was awfully pleasant to talk to you today. So, they're posh, right? They're posh. It's very, very important to be seen and be courteous and to be, to do things well and be seen to be doing things well and be impressive and smart and clean and tidy. And that's why you see with all of the Imperial ship designs, right? All the Imperial ship designs are, there is function there. They're good ships, right? They are, and there you go. Look, bask in her glory here is written. Hail the Emperor, bask in her glory is written. There we go. There we are. Bask in her glory. And so I wasn't doing that quite right. You see, I was going a little bit too fast. So would you mind adjusting course awfully? It's really, that's the empire. Okay. I'm just going to have to land and come back out again because now I've got to. But look at the interior of an Imperial space station, right? There, it is pristine at all times. That's a badge of honor that the space station looks good. Okay. And the reason for that is not just because it's it's a nice thing to have. It's honor demands it, right? How could a space station in the Empire not be as good as it could possibly be? I mean, there's barely a scratch on the floor, right, of these docking pads. If somebody is coming out and polishing these things every time you depart to make sure the soot stains from your exhaust, okay, are there. Yeah, it's glad to have you with us. It's wonderful to see you again, my good chap. It's this beautiful sort of posh clipped British accent, right? It is, that's the empire. That's what the empire has become. And for all its faults, which are many, it has this society which is incredibly highly stratified. So I'm just going to go back out again because I just wanted to show you the inside of the space. But everything is polished, everything is shiny. Every single ship that comes out of Imperial shipyard, it looks a bit. I'm sort of lowering the tone, really. So please observe the speed restrictions. Awfully polite, but don't mess about with them, right? Because oops, crunch. Somebody took off very quickly into me. Yeah, I'll do my best. There we go. So it's an incredibly stratified society. But that line of Imperial, genetically engineered line of Imperial emperors lasts up until just the last few years. Okay, just the last few years, when just in recent years, we now have Arissa, who is of the line of the Duvals, and there was a power struggle in the last 2 or 3 years for the control of the empire, and we effectively had our first empress in 1,000 years, right? We had our first empress, but she didn't want to be called empress. She was very clear that she was emperor. Okay, nothing was changed, because that core of the empire is built around the idea of having an emperor. In that sort of space, so that's where the empire starts, and it becomes this enormous superpower, which expands out into space around Achenar in the same way the Federation is expanding out around Sol. The two superpowers are then set up to vie against each other, and then they're at war for 50 years with each other. Technology improving all the time. In this sort of space, and this sort of sets the stage for the later things that happen in the universe of Elite Dangerous. They become incredibly potent, and very, very different societies, right? Very, very different societies. So humanity becomes these two major power blocks which have very, very little in common, and they're always vying for each other. You know, the Federation says, well, you've got slavery, it's dreadful. And the Empire's basically saying, well, of course, yes, but you've got poor people. We don't have anybody poor in our society at all. Everybody has money and everyone's rich. And those that don't have money have security, you know. So there's nobody can fall into debt or hardship in the Empire. So they believe they've got a better society than the Federation. And, you know, so it goes on. And Gallagher, that's a very, very good point, is keeping the title Emperor saves you repainting all the stations, right? I don't know if that was a consideration, but maybe it was, right? But Orissa is the Emperor. She's not the Empress. She is Emperor. She wants that title. But they did change his to her because so that's where this whole Bask thing comes from, right? The whole, you know, it's a little bit of a joke in the Elite Dangerous thing, but Bask in her glory, right, is, you know, all hail the Emperor. She is what has made and continues to make the society function. Everything you do reflects on yourself, it reflects on the people above you, and your job in the Empire is to make the people above you look better. Okay, that's your job. Everybody in the Empire has a reason to be. You have a reason. You're there to make the person above you look better, and ultimately that translates into making the Empress, or the Emperor in this case, you know, the most powerful person in the galaxy. So the Empire truly believes it has the reason to exist, and it, you know, it's all about. Drew, can you invite Winnie back? Possibly, yes. It's I don't know how to do that. Let's try that again. Did that drop out? I didn't notice while I was talking. I can't even see him on my list. Is he down there? There he is. Unreachable, apparently, according to my wing invite. So no, I'm afraid not. So that's the way the Empire is constructed, right? That is the way the Empire is constructed, and it believes it truly believes that its society structure is superior to that of the Federation, and its mission is to spread Imperial glory to every part of the galaxy, right? That's what the Empire is, and the Federation obviously disagrees with that. But that's where this bask thing comes from, right? You bask because basking is good, right? It shows that you're successful. It shows that you're making your place in society. It means that you're giving jobs to the people below you and you're looking after them. The more you bask, the better you become, and the more jobs you provide, and the more reason for existing, and you know, and so on and so on and so forth. And you will progress up society's ranks. Now, senators in the Empire might have control of entire star systems. They are important people, and the people below them fervently believe they're doing the right thing in supporting these senators. So Imperial society self-reinforces itself, but it's all about appearances. You know, you make a mistake. If you fall from grace, that's the ultimate sin in the Empire. You observe your T's and C's and your P's and Q's, and you don't wear the wrong thing to the wrong wedding, you know, and you wear the right hat and you wear the right clothes, and you're seen to be doing the right thing at all times, even if maybe you're not. So politics and rivalry and you know, underhanded dealings are of course rife, but you know, they're never seen and they're never commented upon. They just are. So it's quite good fun. So did Emperor's Orissa's treatment of the relative? No, see, now there are honor killings in the Empire. If somebody challenges you, you are within your rights to do away with them. okay, and as a show of strength, right? If somebody defies you in the Empire, it's like a dueling tradition. That's the reason that if you've read my books, you notice that a lot of arguments in the Empire are settled with swords, right? They don't need to be settled with swords, but that's just a tradition in the empires that, you know, if somebody disagrees with it, you fundamentally can't come to an agreement. You can you can run them through the sword, which is a different way of settling things, but it's quite neat and tidy, right? And so, you know, if someone's your rival, the Empire respects strength and guile, right? It doesn't want too much talky about it, you know, and uncertainty. They want the thing dealt with. You know, if you're in power, or you expect to be in power, they want you to be assertive, right? They don't want anybody kind of messing about for too long. If you're in charge, you're in charge, and that should be respected. So if you do away with your opponents quickly, that's good, because you're strong, you're a good leader, right? So yes, so there is a dueling tradition, and that's how a lot of things are settled. And if you're going to that was going past really quickly. Yeah, so very, very different ways of solving arguments. Okay, very, very different ways of solving arguments, and some of that stuff is around as well, which is quite cool. Right, now we're at that sort of 30 minutes to go stage. So that's given you a bit of a thing in about the Empire. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take our little trip to Achenar 3. Now I do warn you that this is a dangerous place to go, right? It's a little bit of a thing, but let's have a little bit of fun on this one, because we can go to Achenar 3. And by the way, if you're in Achenar, there are a lot of bits and pieces here that are worth going to listen to these tourist spots. Okay, one I will mention is the Hall of Martyrs. Okay, Hall of Martyrs is a cool thing. There is a place we can't see it obviously in game yet, but on the surface of Achenar, in the capital city, on the capital planet, the moon, is the Hall of Martyrs, and it is alleged that in the Hall of Martyrs there are the bodies of those people who are who disagreed, shall we say, with some of the emperors along the way. Or people who have died in the service of the Empire are entombed in the columns of the Hall of Martyrs, right? and some, it is said, were martyred quite deliberately. So read into that what you will. So there are supposedly people entombed inside the pillars of the Hall of Martyrs, and some of them who weren't all that keen on being martyred. Possibly distance and stuff. So there's some quite cool things to read up about on the history of the Empire inside the game. So do keep an eye on that, right? Do keep an eye on that. It's worth going to visit some of those sort of points. But let's go and investigate. And this is more an Elite Dangerous thing, because obviously we can land on these planets. And there's a lot of history in the Achenar system. But Achenar 3. Now have a look here, and do bring an SRV if you're up for this. And just be aware that you may wish to be a little bit careful. Achenar 3 is a high metal content world, which is a little bit of a giveaway. Okay, but you'll notice here, I don't know if it shows. Does it show up on this list? I don't know if it does. Does it show anything about the actual detail? No, it doesn't here. We're going to have to go to it. So let's set course for Achenar 3. We'll rendezvous at Jones Dock first. Let's go there, right? We'll rendezvous at Jones's Dock. That allows us all to be together at that point in time. Then we'll go down and we'll go and investigate this planet. Okay, so it'll be quite a little bit of fun. Winnie's back. There we go. Right, so off we go to Achenar 3. We're going to leave the worlds of Achenar 6 behind. A little bit of a way off. We've come from the foundations of the Empire, right? Are not necessarily what you might expect it to be. It was supposed to be a democratic society, and it was purloined by an individual the brother of the initial founder turned upon her potentially, did away from her allegedly. It was certainly a very suspicious accident, and the empire was formed on that. It defied the Federation, right? It defied the Federation, and fought them in a massive space battle and won, right? I'll go into the next tab. Sorry, let me try that again then. Oop, wrong button. Is it the next tab? That one. Ah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, so here we go. Metal content, well, Achenar 3, right? Now notice here, the gravity, 6.73 Gs, right? So I'm warning you in advance, okay? Landing here is a challenge, all right? Landing here is a challenge. So if you've got a big ship and you haven't got particularly strong thrusters, be careful, right? This is one of those kind of, can you land your ship well? Okay, it could be rebuy time for some of you. So if you don't fancy doing it, don't feel obliged to. But let's let's give it a whirl, and see how we do. And there is a ground construction. Yes, there is a base that we can aim for. Okay. And we can attempt to land. So this is, as Gallagher Chip says, please understand the gravity of the situation. Let's give it a whirl, shall we? Let's give it a whirl. So actually, let's not worry about Jones's dock. Let's go to, because we don't need it actually. We have a surface installation. Let's head there, and we'll see if we can land close by to it. Where is it? There we go. Is that the only one on the surface? Okay, so it's this little place here called Brill Works. Let's head for Brill Works and see if we can land close by to Brill Works. And we'll have a park up on the ground there if we can. Get some pickies as well. I want to see an Imperial ship in pieces. So this will sort of see how well we do. Okay, let's give it a whirl. So if you're not up for it, don't worry. You can hang around a little bit. We'll continue chatting. But if you fancy trying to land on a high G world, this is your chance. Okay, so it's 6.73 Gs on the surface, which is pretty uncomfortable, right? Now what do I weigh? About 11.5 stone, say 12 stone. So on this planet, what 6 times 12? That's a lot of weight, right? I don't think. I don't think 6.7 Gs would be very, very comfortable at all. So yeah, if you've got any exploration data, sell it now, and be wary. All right, be wary of trying to do this because it is dangerous. See how many of us can get down on the surface near Brill Works as much as possible. So yeah, that should be quite fun. So yeah, so the Empire is born out of controversy, right? It's born out of potentially, what is it? What was it when it's not patricide? What is it when you kill your sister or brother? There's a word, something side. I can't even remember. Space pancake. Yeah, that's what we do. It's not. Somebody will be able to tell me. Fratricide, that's it. Well done, Kelly Bagler. That's it. Fratricide. That's what the Empire appears to have been founded upon, right? Fratricide. So and then Henson takes over, and he's a long line of genetic murdercide. Genetically manipulated family line that spans 1,000 years, and the Empire. The Emperor himself is almost a godlike figure now in the eyes of Imperial citizens. They venerate him incredibly. Right, so I'm going to Super Cruise assist for the moment. Where is it? Oh, I think I'm too late. Let's just shut down a little bit. Oh, I've got a loop of shame. Sorry about that. Let's try and get down onto the surface. and see how it goes. Now, so be careful, right? So it is, yeah, it's very similar to the foundation of Rome with Romulus and Remus, right? It's it has that vibe to it. It's very similar to the early Roman Empire, but with the ostentatiousness and arrogance and posturing, I suppose, is the way to describe it, of the British Empire about 150 years ago. It's got that sort of vibe to it, but then in space, right, with lots of technology and lots of swish and lots of verve. Imperial technology does have absolute function, but they will, if Imperial design has to have form as well. There's no concept of in the Empire of doing something cheap and cheerful. Okay, there's no concept in the Empire of doing something that undercuts another organisation to get competitive advantage. That sort of concept does not exist in the Empire. Whereas in the Federation, you're always trying to undercut your competitors, right? Do something faster, cheaper, better. That doesn't happen in the Empire. The Empire, you're trying to make it look as amazing as possible while still doing whatever it is the thing that it's designed to do. You beat everybody else by being better, not by being cheaper stroke faster. Its quality and form is far more important in the Empire than cost. There's always a way to afford it in the Empire. So bear that in mind. Now you can see I'm in high orbit here, 3.7 million miles, and the gravity is already up to 4G, right? So be careful. Be careful. This is an incredibly dangerous moon or planet. Actually, no, it's a planet, isn't it? This is an incredibly dangerous planet to try and land on. Okay, so full pips to engines at the very minimum. Okay, and if you get into trouble, then it's on your own head. Be it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try and get down here. Now, will I be able to do it? Now, I've got the Cobra with 4A thrusters. I don't think I've got any engineering on this ship other than the jump drive. So, there's plenty of sabotage. There's lots and lots of underhanded dealing, right, in the Empire, but nobody ever talks about it. It would be dishonourable for it to be revealed, even if you know that somebody is trying to undermine you and stuff. You wouldn't dishonour them by revealing that. You'd just have to counter it some other way, right? So it's all about appearances. You must be seen to be doing the right thing, even if you aren't doing the right thing. There is a planet with over 9Gs, and that's just crazy. Boost upwards and pray your thrusters don't die. It's just going to be fun. So how many of us are going to be able to manage this? What did you say about pips? So pips to thrusters as you're coming in, and pips to shields if you get out of control, right? When you land safely, 20 quatloos on the human. Ooh, points for the original Star Trek reference there. I like that. 11G, is it really as high as that? I've not seen that, so that's insane. So right, I'm going to switch to engines here. Now I'm going to see if I can stabilise a little bit. This high up. Now what's the gravity now? 6.6 G and rising. Okay. A meter round hollow is a trip to land on. Yeah, so that's kind of good things. Shields off, thrusters depowered. Just glide it in. Just about to drop from glide. So we're all coming in now. Let's see if some of us can make this. Separating the experience from the inexperience. I don't think I've tried this before, so I'm quite interested to see what happens. Maybe this should be a sport, an Imperial sport, right? So there's a lot of gravity down there, 6.6 G. So you'd actually, if you were in your ship now, you'd be being crushed into your seat by this weight, which would be very, very unpleasant, right? So I'm going to level off here and just kind of, I've just aborted my glide, which might not be a bad thing actually. So I'm 45 kilometres above the surface. I want to sort of see what happens. So I get from Ship Slayer. What speed am I at? I'm accelerating at the moment, and that's just going up. Oh, Ship Slayer's managed to be underneath the planet. That's interesting. Okay, so my thrusters do work in terms of slowing me down, but as you can see, I'm dropping vertically at this point. Coming down quite fast, actually. So I'm going to boost up. And try and Oh, look at my speed. It's slowly leveling off. That is quite dangerous. So you're going to have to be very careful coming down here. And it just speeds up really quickly if you nose down. So 17 kilometers up. Full rate red means you'll get hurt very, very badly. Yeah, so you can see I'm going down. I've got red rate on the monitor there. So I'm just going to keep banking for a bit. In fact, it's going up. And ship slayers managed to get underneath the planet, which is quite impressive. I can still see people below me, which is quite. I've only got my wing here. Has anybody else managed to jump in? I'm still coming down fast at this point in time, but I'm 11 kilometers up, so I'm not too outrageous at the moment. My downward speed is going up though, so I want to manage that. And that's taking me up again. So I can control it. Oh, there's somebody else coming down over there. Look, coming down very fast, out of scanner range. All I can see is a streak across. Now that's a good question about the technology that's supporting us here, right? Is what is it about Elite Dangerous technology that allows us to survive these conditions? Because we shouldn't be able to survive, right? We shouldn't be able to survive constant 6G. So there is technology in the game which does allow you to. So I'm going to just see if I can stabilize my ship. I'm going to do a fake landing at this altitude, see how much control I've got. So I have got control of it. My ship will hover, so I've just got to be really careful as I come in. Going to manage that. It looks like you got stuck in the ground somehow, which is a bit weird. So I'm going to keep my thrusters in the green zone there for a moment. I can see the base down there. And my ship is slowly accelerating, so I'm just going to gently spiral down here. I can see some other folks on the. Have they got down on the surface? Has anybody crashed yet? I suppose is the question. Stay shallow and don't use vertical thrust. Just literally glide in. Yep. So I can see some ships down there. Seem to be under control, which is good. What's my speed now? 160. So that's good. So I can see it looks like a Python down there. So yeah, so the technology that's involved. Now we've been told in the lore that Elite Dangerous doesn't have any anti-gravity technology. That's one of the reasons. Oh, I've got to be a bit careful. We can't land here, so do be careful that you don't get yourself a fine unexpectedly. I'm coming a little bit hot now. Let's get a bit of upwards thrust. Okay, so now that's good. Right, so I do want to get close to you guys, but I'm going to use the yaw now to turn around rather than the thing and start cutting my speed. So yeah, so this is quite a dangerous planet. There we go. How far? I'm 1.9 above the surface, and slowly settling in. Oh, now I've got the trespass spawning again. I can't actually see the base, so I guess it's somewhere below me. I'm not too worried about that, but it'd be fun to see the NPCs flying around here. Yeah, that would be quite cool, wouldn't it? So I'm just watching the down arrow. Let's put the undercarriage down at this stage. Oh, I've gained a trespass fire, but never mind, eh? I'm just going to keep banking around. Oh, now I'm wanted. I'm a bad boy in the Empire. Oh, it's going up as well. That's not so hot. I'm not too worried about 600 credit bounty. Other people have got down. They've got good shields. Excellent. Right, how am I doing? I'm 700 meters up. There's not much in the way of landing spots here. I can't see any of the other ships yet. I can see one down. Actually, I can see one there. So I'm just going to keep banking around here. One of my wingmates is down. I don't know where Winnie is. Ship Slayer is there. 600 meters up. Can feel the ship kind of creaking and groaning. They definitely don't come down too fast, guys, because it's not pleasant. Okay, so I'm coming down. Forward speed is good. I'm aiming for that sort of plateauy bit over there. Actually, it's all about managing your speed, right? Don't let it build up. Commander Nephilim is there, but has no SRV. Good. Well done for getting down. Okay, so I'm just trying to back off here. That looks like quite a good spot to land for me. I'm quite keen to land to other people. I'm 100 meters up now. I've actually got a landing spot there. I'll turn around and see if I can face people. There we go. There's the little Brill workspace. Hull at 59%. Few people having fun and games, trying to get down. Now I can't actually see too many other ships. Now I don't really want to use the vertical thrusters here, so I can see. Oh, is that Commander Winnie's ship and an SRV? So I'm just going to slowly glide down and forwards. This is the way to do it. Don't use your vertical thrusters because that's what kills you in this. Try and go down with your forward thrusters, and I'm getting a bit close to that, whatever that base is. Doesn't like it. So let's go for that little ridge over there. Thrusters are weak. My speed is good. That's looking like a nice spot to land over there. It's quite tense all this, right? 30 meters. The thrust to 0, 12. Just like an Apollo touchdown this is. Pull up now. Not too much. Yes! He did it! There. I'm down. Right, out with the SRV. Why is that not working? Oh, probably not because it powered or something. There we go. Got to power it up. There we go. So yeah, nice. That was good. Just so somebody's crashed. There's Commander Winnie. Good to see you, Commander Winnie. Oh, high gravity warning. Don't often hear that. There we go. Get the lights on. So it should be quite interesting driving around here actually. Let's go and see who's down. So is that who's that ship there? That's Commander Baron von Arth is here with his Imperial cutter, which looks very majestic. The thing I like about the Imperial cutter in particular, let's just going to have a look at it. This is one thing I really do like the design of this ship is the stairs. Right? You can imagine this thing just parked there just to be some stairs, right? I mean, look at the entrance ramp, although it's floating slightly above the ground. That entrance ramp just looks spectacular. You can just imagine posh Imperial people trying to get up and down that, and just kind of coming down in amazing dresses and amazing sharp suits. That would be quite cool. It's a very, very cool thing to have. Well, I've just got my humble Cobra, right? But so we're getting alarms going off because we're too close to this base. So who else have we got down here? I can see somebody. There's another ship. I saw a few other people about. So anyway, if you do make it down here, come and join Commander Winnie and me with your SRV. Just sort of hang out and chill for a moment. That's a lovely ship. Where's Commander Baron von Arth? I think he said he didn't have an SRV, so he can't come out. But his ship looks amazing, so that's really good. I've made it, but I'm in a different instance. Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame that the instance isn't helping. That's always a pain with this game, right? Is the instancing. But that does give us a chance to admire actually Commander Baron von Arf's ship, right? Because this is the top ship in the Empire currently at present, and the it's a beautiful piece of design. Running wild. Could I wing you in? I can certainly try. Hang on, who is that again? Running wild. Invite to wing. I can try. There we go. See if that works. So 1% hull, not landed yet. But yeah, it's a beautiful ship, right? So thank you for parking it there, Baron. Well done for getting it on the ground. And this is the premier kind of Imperial starship in the game, minus the Majestic class Interceptor, right? Interdictor, which is the big capital ship, and you can see the Imperial design. It's all about power and prestige, but it's no shrinking violet. The ship is still a formidable fighting vessel. It just looks impressive. How do the SOVs thrust handle it? I mean, if I thrust, oh, I'm too close. Hang on. I think I can still thrust up. Oh, increase the distance from the ship. I can still, but bang! It comes down with a thump, right? I'm going to put power to the shields there. If I thrust it, it just wham! It comes straight back down. It's definitely heavy duty. So that's quite amusing. There's another ship over there, I think, or is that me? Oh no, there's another ship. Who have we got over here? Commander Saul. Definitely come across before. So what ship have you brought to the party here in Achenar? That's my Cobra there, isn't it? In case you're wondering, the paint job on the Cobra is a community paint job. I thought since I was doing a community thing, I would cover it in community things. Right? Oh, that's a Crate Phantom or Crate Mark II? Crate Mark II. Yeah, you can tell by the outriggers. I like the Crate. I think the Crate's a nice looking ship. It's one of my favourite ships in the game at the moment. Very, very Millennium Falcon, particularly in the Phantom version, I think. So that's cool. Got a few other bits and pieces going on. So there we go. We're trying to get some bits and pieces going on here. So there you go. A challenge to land on a high G world in the Achenar system. So that is the history of the Empire, right? So this is the Crate. Yeah, the Crate is the wrong size. The original game it was about Cobra size, wasn't it? In fact, probably slightly inferior. But this is the Mark II Crate, so maybe they get away with it at that point. There's a ship coming in. Who's this? Strafing sideways. Commander of the Nephilim, good name, has got to get his ship on the ground. Let's hope he doesn't die on screen. He's looking a little bit close to that. Oh, he's behind it. He's coming in sideways. There he goes. He's managed to slow it down. Excellent. Well done. I think he's got it under control. Oh, I'm under attack. Who's attacking me? Oh, my ship's under attack. Who's attacking my ship? Is it somebody whacking me with an SRV? That's very naughty of you. Alright, there's Commander Nephilim. Looks like he's down as well. So yeah, so the Crate in Elite Dangerous is the Crate Mark II. I'm assuming the original Crate was the one in the original Elite game, which was not the Mark II variant. Our ship slayers is attacking my ship, are you? I suppose I could dismiss my ship, but the chances of it coming back under control would be very, very bad. So this is what have we got over here? This is the an Orca. So this is a nice little ship, nice little tourist vessel. Very nice purple there. That's very, very cool. So nice to see all the different ship designs. So I'd like to have a cutter actually, but I can't afford to get one, right? Oh, and there's skimmers about as well, are there? Oh, that's a bit annoying. But there we go. What can we do? And they're underneath the light of this Achenar star, right? Since you want to get that 100 credit bounty. I see. Cheeky monkey. I'm sure that's worth a lot, that is. But there we go. So there we go. We're under the light of Achenar. So that's really the history of the Empire, right? So we have the Federation having expanded out. Then we have the Empire having formed and expanded out. That's why the Empire is the way it is. It's strictly genetically controlled, a succession of emperors all the way up to the present day, the big history, and that's why the Empire has become the way it has. And those two superpowers will vie against each other for the next, several centuries, right? That's the way that this all works. Somebody else is up there now trying to come in. I can see. Oh, I saw some thrust trails. I don't know where they went. Hang on, I can probably look up if I'm clever. I guess Commander Running Wild is up there. Oh, now somebody else is firing. Whoa, buzz off. Now I've got this window on my screen. Oh, go away. No thanks. There we go. Oh, who's this? Oh, a sentry skimmer. Oh, that's nice. We've got an NPC giving us a hard time. I suppose I should take him out, really. Well, I know, but he's firing at me. He started it. There we go. I'm a bad boy. What can I say? I'm going to head out over to my ship before I get into too much trouble. Whoa, it's actually quite easy to steer on this planet, right? Because you stick to the ground because of the high gravity, which is actually quite nice. So it's quite easy to drive a. There's somebody else coming down there, which is quite cool. So yeah, so anyway, the history, right? NPC ships may be called, and I'll bear that in mind. So I might have to quit out in case we get into trouble. Don't want to cause you any problems. So other people are still coming in, but yeah, that's where the Empire starts, right? Now next week I'm going to make a little bit of a different segue. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to get some visitors in on the chat, and we're going to do some sort of different stuff. So I will keep you informed about that. If it works, I will let you know. If it doesn't, I might rejig a few things about on the plan, because the tour is a bit fluid in that sense. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for next week's lore episode, and we will continue on our adventure. So we've got up to, where are we in the timeline now? We are up to the 24th century, okay, and we start to get into some of the other stuff now, where the old lore of the Elite games come in. Things like Lave and Tir Nisla and all those sort of places start to appear. They haven't appeared yet, right? They haven't appeared yet, but they are coming soon as well. So that is all to come on the lore tour. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this evening's basking. Thank you very much for turning up and mucking about and managing to land, many of you, on this planet, which has been excellent. Oh, it looks like I've got something red is approaching behind me. What's that? Oh, it's another sentry skimmer. Oh, well, there goes the cutter, blasting away. Well, you're attacking me. I know I trespass, but hey. I haven't attacked one of these for ages. This is quite good fun, actually. There, we killed it. Well done, whoever that was. Right, it's probably a good idea to get back to our ships before we try and get off. Now I've got to get back out, right? Okay, let's get back off this rocket into space. So stay tuned for next week's episode. There's lots more to come. We have lots of stuff to do about generation ships. We have lots of stuff to do about hyperspace. We have the great mystery of Raxxla to cover, of course. We have the old worlds of Lave and Tir Nisla and all those kind of cool places to go, and we have lots more about the old games and some of the meta to understand as well. So there's plenty more to come. Thank you very much for those of you who have tagged along this evening. I hope you found that interesting. And I need to board the ship. There we go. Yeah, so, and just take care out there, right? Okay, so have fun. Try not to get into trouble. And in the real world, of course, stay safe. In the UK, we've just been told we've got another 3 weeks of lockdown before they even review it again. So, you know, we're still stuck with what we're doing. So look after yourselves, be good, stay safe, and you know, just take it easy out there, right? You know, it's great to have your company here because we can. Oh, there's another ship just coming in. The crate's trying to take off. I can see another ship just coming in there as well, which is cool. So that's fantastic. Yeah, stay safe. Stay safe out in the real world. Stay safe in Elite Dangerous as well. Hope you've enjoyed the Empire tour, and obviously take care of yourselves as well. So have great fun. See you soon. 07, right on, Commanders. And I am just going to attempt to take off. Let's see if it works. But I will see you next week. So stay tuned on Twitter and everything else, obviously, for updates on what's going to be. I'm hoping to have some special guests, but I haven't got everything confirmed yet. So we'll see how we do. But there'll be a lore tour for many weeks to come. So enjoy that. So lovely to have your company. Thank you very much for coming along, and you guys be good. Right, and I shall take off and do my best to get off this rock. Take care, guys. All the best. Right, I think I'm up. Landing gear. Let's just angle it aside from this crate. Commander Running Wild is coming down. Clonk. Oh, ship. Oh, ship slayer's busted his ship. Commander Running Wild is looking very unstable. It's a disaster. It's awesome. Right. Thrust up. Let's try and get the ship off the ground. Who's that over there? Commander Winnie is coming back down again. Ship Slayer's destroyed his ship. It's not easy, right? Alright, so I've managed to take off. You guys take absolute care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Right on, Commanders, and 07.